Hi, guys, and welcome to Reality with T. Welcome back. I know it's been a while, but it is hard to do this when you have a full time job and two little kids. So, I'm going to try to be more consistent for you guys. So, thank you so much for listening to me. So, let's get right into the Braxton family values. The sixth and seventh episode. The seventh episode is the season finale. So honestly, this season I'm trying to figure out. I guess they just had to put something out because it had been so long, and then I know quarantine happened, and then Tamar left the show, so they couldn't really make it a long season, and there really wasn't much that they could, make a show into. I will tell you, Tamar's absence is felt because she did. It's almost like they all needed each other to make this show really, really happen. And the irony of it is that Toni and Tamar are the ones who don't really need the show as much as the other girls, but but the other girls can't carry the show by themselves, I'm sure that if Toni could have left a long time ago, I think Toni would not have even done this show because it probably wasn't her choice to do it. It was just to put her sisters and her family on, which worked. But then it's like, okay, she's stuck doing this thing because she really, to me, she gives the least of herself, and she is not authentic, and she tries to seem like the mediator. I don't get too involved in that kind of stuff, but really she is involved in it. She's a part of it, even though she likes to play the I don't know what happened type of thing. Toni has her little shadiness with her too, and toward Traci. And I can understand why Traci feels the way that she does. So it's kind of like some of like the mean girls, you know what I mean? And what you realize is that Traci, maybe she doesn't verbalize herself as well as the other girls, and her delivery comes off in an aggressive manner because she gets so frustrated with not being able to express herself the way the other ladies do, and then it blows up, and then the other girls get to kind of look at her and be like, oh, see, look at her, or we got her mad, that type of thing. And I think what Traci is learning is don't let them get that side of you, because then they won. So I like that she's going to therapy and figuring that out. And it seems that it's working for her because now she's like, I'm not trying to be reactive. I'm trying to just, take it in and respond in a way that people can understand how I'm feeling. So I like that she has gotten to that point. So, we start out, every episode now has FaceTimes because they can't be in the same place. Tawanda went up to Maryland to go check on her dad and Miss Wanda. And, Tawanda says that she tells her dad, I do miss Traci. And I do think that there is a genuine love within all of them. But when you think about relationships such as Traci and Tamar, I can understand that too, because Tamar is so extra and she can come off as disrespectful and just too much. And is disrespectful to your older sister, disrespectful to me being a woman, disrespectful to being anybody, the way that she talks and stirs up her drama. So I can understand why somebody like Traci is like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be around it. And she said, I haven't spoken to my sisters or her mother in about 7 or 8 months since the wedding because she had to distance herself, and I can love them from afar. So I understand that. So but Tawanda does say that she misses Traci. So, she already told her that she was going to come over, and she asked Traci to make her crabs when she came over. So we see Toni in the studio making a video, and I always say Toni is the professional. Like, I understand why they chose Toni to be the professional of that family. Even though Tamar's range is greater than Toni's. Tamar can sing. Like, I feel like Tamar is the most talented, and the sisters have said that. But Tamar's hard to work with. She can't keep anybody around her. She is, when you see her in the studio, she's playing around. You see Toni on the studio, she's focused. She's, do this and that. She's a perfectionist. She is quiet. She is doing what she has to do when she gets in there and gets out. That's the type of person that people want to work with. So, she's in the studio, she's making a video. Sean goes up to talk to who he called the father, who he calls Dr. Braxton, I guess to get his blessing for marriage. And I'm confused because I thought he was supposed to be watching Tawanda's kids, which I thought was weird, but whatever. He was supposed to be home with Tawanda's kids while she was in Maryland. And then I guess maybe Tawanda didn't know he was in Maryland with her. I don't know how it happened, but either way, he went to go talk to the father, who he calls Dr. Braxton, and he got his blessing. It seems like the father likes him. Again, I still think Sean is a little too made for TV for me. I don't. There's something in that milk that's not white, but we will see how it all plays out. So then you have Tawanda talking to Traci. They have a conversation about Tawanda saying, but I wanted crabs. And Traci, in her trying to create boundaries and stick to them, I guess her, what she wanted to do was to say, just because you asked for it, I don't have to make that for you. or, you know, I'm not eating crabs right now, so you can't make me eat crabs. It was a weird, she's trying to instill some boundaries within the relationships between her sisters. But I think that this is a weird way to do it. I think that her not making crabs and instead making chicken and collard greens, knowing that Tawanda doesn't eat chicken, was an interesting way to do it. But I guess in her mind, that was her creating boundaries. So she talks about her boundaries, and she talks about, you know, we're not kids anymore. And she's very personable while talking to Tawanda. She's not saying this with anger or malice. She didn't really bring up the wedding or anything. But she just said, you know, when I'm around you guys, I'm gonna have to stick to my boundaries. And then at the end, we see a little bit more Traci at the end of this conversation where she's kind of like, I asked my boundaries. Boundaries? Should I do this or whatever? And then they kind of make it funny because it kind of, you know, cut the tension that was there. So, you know, she talks about therapy, and she talks about her queendom, you know, and she says, she's honestly saying, around when I'm around my sisters, their queendom is dominant, and then I kind of crumble. And I can understand that, because people who are, while she might seem not like not so much like an introvert, she's one of those people that can lead when they need to lead, but around other leaders, they can kind of fall back and allow others to lead. And I kind of feel I'm the same way, because I could be a good leader. I have the skill, but it's almost like I might not push myself out there to do it just because. But there are other people that just become dominant in certain situations. And that is probably how she is around her sisters. And there are also insecurities around the sisters. I'm sure there's insecurities around the way that she can communicate, her job situation, because her sisters went into the industry and she was working like as a mental health counselor of some sort, and, you know, maybe looks, and maybe, you know, it's just a whole bunch of things that she probably has taken on in all these years, and they have manifested themselves as insecurities around her sisters. So you know, but she's saying she's learning to react with words and not physically, and not going, because, you know, Traci always reacted that way, because it was just her emotion would come up first. And you know, that, so basically she's able to express, you know, what's going on with her. And I like the way that her and Tawanda ended the conversation. So now Toni wants them to come out to see her, and she says that they would have to quarantine and the whole thing. And then you see, I think Vaughn had a conversation with Sean, and he talks about proposing to Tawanda, and Vaughn says basically don't do it in front of her sisters, because that caused a whole lot of trouble that we didn't even need to be a part of. So you know, he says, let's see, no, they have to quarantine. Did they go out this time? I think they did already. They flew out to Toni's, and you find out that they got flown out there on a private plane by Birdman. But the way that they say it was like, you know, Toni's like, how'd you guys fly out here? Commercial or whatever? And they're like, no, we flew private plane. Your boyfriend flew us out there. But I'm like, why are you guys acting like Toni doesn't know that? Like, is he really, like, that wasn't a secret? I don't know. It's just interesting the way that they try to do stuff for the show. And it's like, okay, that's weird. And Toni and Birdman are still together, and that's also weird. But okay. So, you know, then so now they're in the house out there. I'm looking at my notes, y'all. You know how it goes. They're in the house out there in LA, and Toni does not show up because Toni says they need to quarantine. That's what it was. They need to quarantine for 3 days before she can get out there to them. So it's kind of like a setup. Like, you have us come out here for your birthday, whatever it is, you don't even show up. But that seems like typical Toni. Like, this is for the show. Let me get them all together, blah, blah, blah. And Trina and Traci finally talk. And it seems like Trina is the one who was really able to and willing to listen to and understand Traci the most. And, you know, Trina says, I think she said this in the confessional, you know, Traci is usually right about what she's saying, but her delivery is wrong. And that's true, because I feel like Traci has lived the most normal life. So she is in tune to people. She understands people. She understands their intentions. But the thing is that she was never able to communicate the same way that the other girls can. So I do agree with that. Traci said, you know, I didn't want to make a scene at your wedding. You know, she explains everything that happened. She explains that when she was in the back, Tamar kind of confronted her. And then, you know, Tamar and Tawanda, I guess when the mother came back there, they blamed her. She was like, they were like, oh, it was Traci, all Traci. And then I guess the mother probably went off on Traci, probably saying like, why would you start this here? Blah, 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 blah. And it was like, she immediately felt blamed and I had to defend myself. It was almost as if we were kids again. And everybody blamed me for something that I didn't even do. Mom didn't even ask my side of it. Mom just went off on me. So there was an issue when Tawanda said to social media at one point, you know, we did this because you tried to fight mommy. And I guess, I don't know how it blew up, but they made it seem as if, you know, Traci in the back at some point tried to fight their mother. But I guess in that point, she was in defense mode, protect myself mode, and she just kind of went off or at everybody. She must have blacked out. So, you know, she says that I guess the whole thing was that her mother was upset with her, and she explains that her and her mom's relationship is not good. And she also does say that she realizes, I don't know if it was in the 6th or 7th episode, that it could be because after the divorce and everybody moved away, everybody moved to Atlanta, Traci was the only one that stayed in Maryland, and that was where Dad stayed, and that's where Mikey stayed, and that's where obviously the father's wife stayed. So it might have seemed like I took sides with Dad, but the thing is that I just stayed in Maryland, and I love my mom and dad the same, but we have a close relationship. And when I also review Ayana, when you realize in my Ayana, when like Lisa Ray, her mother did the same thing. At one point, you moved in with your dad and your girlfriend, and Ayana's like, but she's moving in with her dad. It has nothing to do with the girlfriend. She could either live with her mom or her dad, and she's living with her dad, and he happened to have a girlfriend. It doesn't mean that, you know, I took to this woman to be my mother. I'm moving in with my dad. And that's what I think beautiful but bitter Mrs. Braxton, Mom Braxton, doesn't understand. You know, it seems like you stayed in Maryland to be with your dad, but it's like, I'm not choosing. It's just, I have a mom and a dad, and I'm with my dad at this moment. It doesn't mean I'm choosing him over you. And I think that's what a lot of, when mothers become single mothers or divorced mothers or whatever, that's what they feel, you know? So I'm glad that she was able to point that out. And, you know, Trina, in this conversation, she does say she realizes that a lot has been unfair to Traci. I guess all the way from the beginning, not signing the contract because she was having a kid. Trina was able to have her kid and still be a part of the group, and you know, all these different things. The way that they've treated her on the show, they have been unfair to her, and she's been screaming this, but unable to really articulate it. And so now I'm glad that she's finally able to articulate what is going on with her. So that was episode 6. Now the last episode, I mean, this is pretty quick. You know, they're all in the house, and Toni calls the mom and says, you know, she fixed him up with a personal chef, which I thought was great. They were loving him. And then Toni says, listen, you're going to have another chef coming. It ends up, she flies down the mom private, and she goes to the house. And then Toni finally shows up to the house, but she's in like a full hazmat suit and the whole thing. Traci calls her therapist from there. I guess just to, sometimes you need a little bit of a booster, you know, all the sisters are coming in now. How do I deal with this? Am I doing this the correct way? And I really like her therapist. I like the way she talks to her. I like the way she kind of grounds her and makes her see all perspectives. So, you know, Traci explains to, I forgot to who it was it both of the sisters or somebody, the issue that she has with mom. And the issue is that with mom, grandma, mom, her mom, I want her to be a mom and not a friend to some girls at times, and a friend to this one and cool to this one, and a mom to me. You need to be moms to all of us at all times, or friend at all times, but don't pick and choose, you know. And I guess in that situation, it was kind of like, I'm going to jump on Toni and Tamar, whoever's side that's pointing a finger at you, and I'm going to be your mom and yell at you like I'm your mom. But I'm taking their side as a friend. I guess she feels like, you know, the mother flips sides and this whole thing and doesn't really know her role, which is the same thing with Christian. Now, all of these rich mothers, you know, they're going to be friends and be friendly with the one who's paying all their bills, which in this case would be Toni or Kim Kardashian or whatever. That's the one that's making them the money. So now your role you're managing it, whatever it is, your role has changed from mom to friend or personal assistant, whatever it is. And then to the other kids, it's always like, no, you got to listen to me. And Traci's like, that's the issue. Just because I make less than everybody and I'm living in a different way than everybody. Don't treat me differently. And I understand where she's coming from. So she wants a mother-daughter relationship with her mom, but she also feels like mom would be insulted when she talks to her about this. And like Ayana said, all moms are insulted. All moms get defensive. All moms feel like they're going to be attacked. But I guess the conversation is going to have to happen. So and that's when she talks about, mom feeling like she took her side, took the father's side, and she feels like the mom needs to individualize her relationship with each daughter. You have a different relationship with each of your daughters. We're all doing different things. We all have different personalities. Individualize. You can't just see us. You can't deal with us in a monolithic way. We all have different things going on. We're adults. I'm a grandmother. You need to treat us all differently. I understand that. Tawanda takes them to go get her tattoo of Andre's name removed because remember, Sean said he would not marry her unless she had another man's name off of her body. And I have my thoughts about the way that he said that to her. I think that's manipulative. I think that it is controlling. And I just think it's unnecessary the way that he said, like, you're telling me what I have to do to my body. You won't marry me until I do this to my body. I don't like the way that was presented. But she's all for it or whatever. You see Traci sit down and talk to mom, and the mother admits her mistakes. The mother says, I had 6 of you kids, and of course, during raising 6 kids, somebody is going to feel neglected. Somebody's not getting what they need, and I have no way of knowing how to meet everybody's needs. And somebody might get lost, you know what I mean? But she also says, I wish that I had been a grandmother before I was a mother, because with becoming a grandmother, you have wisdom. What you don't understand about being grandmothers, you also don't have to do all the hard in the trenches work as mothers have to do. So when you're in the trenches with the mothers, that's why a lot of kids, they run to their grandmothers and everything, because the grandmothers get to sit back and have fun while we're doing all of the morning wake ups for school and wash face, brush your teeth, the whole thing. Grandmas get to sit back and have you on the weekends and take you to do fun things and give you candy and watch you smile. So she's she's making a comparison that isn't really a good comparison, but I understand that she's saying by the time I became a grandmother, I have the wisdom of how to do it and how to do it right, which I didn't have when you guys were in my care as my daughters. So she says she understands Traci. She wants to relate to Traci as a grandmother. She says that Traci becoming a grandmother made her way more mature. It matured her. And she likes this Traci. She loves her. She loves everything about her. And she wants the relationship to flourish. And she is on the same page with her, wants to understand her. And, they end on a very positive note. So it was a nice conversation. And then, lastly, I think Tawanda had one of her skincare people come and give everybody facials and all these kind of things. So they ended on a positive note and everything was great. I do like the sisters. I think at one point in this episode or the 6th episode, they actually started singing again. I think it was this episode where they actually do that thing where they make up their songs on the spot and then everybody joins in and they harmonize. And that's really the way that we like to see them. That's why we really fell in love with them, because they are really a singing family, and that is how they all connect with each other and how they all, that was their relationship. So all of the drama and the falling out and this and that. I mean, I guess it's good for some people for TV, but we forget that this is actually a real family and their sisterhood. It's not just random people that they threw on a reality show like the Love and Hip Hops. So it's a good thing to see that they are back together and flourishing in that way, at least in this moment. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, share, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Reality with T. Bye-bye.